Welcome to Theater Therapy, a podcast for movie lovers who treat going to the movie theater like a therapy session. With co-hosts Aly and Ems, we geek out and dive deep into all things movies, including top picks, movie reviews, best soundtracks, our current hyperfixations, and more. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy today's session.
Welcome back to another session of Theater Therapy. Today we're talking about one of my favorite movies of all time. The 2005 Pride and Prejudice.
Yep.
Directed by Joe Wright. Literally the best version of Pride and Prejudice out there. Somebody fight me on it.
I don't think anybody will. I think most people are in agreement.
So good.
That it is the best.
It's not the most accurate, but who cares?
It's the most romantic.
It is. It is the most romantic movie I think I've ever watched. Like, it is.
Really?
Probably.
I mean, yeah, okay.
It gives you the most ooey gooeys. Just saying.
We need to preface this with, up until literally this last summer,
Aly didn't even understand the movie.
I hated the movie. I thought it was the most boring, long,
So here's the thing, though,
basic movie.
We grew up watching this with our mom, and our older sister, like, every week. Pretty much we'd watch it on, like, Sunday, I swear.
Yeah, we watched it a lot.
Like, all the time. And so, and I will admit, I didn't like it as a young girl. Like, I found it boring, too. I didn't really know what they were saying.
Well, I mean, they do have that, like, old English
I mean, they talk like they're
language,
1900s,
yeah.
so, you know. But in, like, junior high and high school, I refound my love for it, and I've, like, really actually watched it and understood what was going on. And then I read the book for my senior project, and I had, like, a whole thing on it, like, a report, and I absolutely love it so much. I love it so much, the book, and then this movie version, because it's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, so last summer I was sick and it was on Netflix and I was like, oh, watch it. And I put on the subtitles so I could, like, actually understand what was happening and completely changed my opinion of the movie.
You came back to me and you're like, oh my gosh, I just watched Pride and Prejudice and, like, what did you say? I don't even remember what you said, but you're like, it's so good. And I was like, I know.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but I watched it 5 times that week.
Yeah.
Like, in a row. And I just was obsessed. I was like, oh, like,
no wonder everybody loves it.
A
love
romance,
story. Yeah.
a love story. And
it's like the blueprint, Aly, for like
enemies to lovers.
It's literally like the blueprint for
enemies to lovers is one of my favorite tropes. Like,
yeah.
Which is just so funny that I never...
Again, this is why I was always like, why doesn't she like it? It's so good.
It's so boring.
It's so not boring though like once you know what's going on. Yeah.
I know. Now I really enjoy the movie. I still would say I'm not probably quite as obsessed as, like, you are.
No. I definitely would agree
But
with
that being said, from where I was, like, a year ago to now, I'm like, yeah, let's watch it. Yeah, it's romantic. We were just watching a few clips before this, and I'm already, like, tearing up. I'm like, this movie is just so romantic.
So beautiful. Like, it's so beautiful. We were talking to, like... the BBC 6-hour version, our mom loves that one. I haven't watched it as much, but I do want to try it again. For the longest time, though, I was, like, against it. Because I'm like, no, I don't want anything to ruin my love for the 2005 Keira Knightley version, because I love that version.
Right.
But, I mean, that one has some people in, though, too, so.
But yeah, Pride and Prejudice, the book, is one of the most famous and
I have a copy here, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, well-known of Jane Austen's works.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been made into...
It's been, like...
many movies, many
so
TV
many different
shows,
versions.
different adaptations. I just was looking it up, and as of 2020, there's 17 different, like... Versions that people say are Pride and Prejudice. Like, that is exactly what they were making it to be. I haven't seen all of them, obviously. I've seen a few, but...
Honestly, one of my favorite things, though, is I don't even know what you'd call it, like, the... genre of Jane Austen books or Shakespearean plays made into modern day movies. Like, because again, like, another one for Jane Austen was Emma. Yeah. If you've seen Clueless.
Right.
That's a version of Emma. And it's so funny. Like, it's so good. So I'm like, I love that people take these, like the one you just told me about that I didn't know.
Bridget Jones's Diary.
See,
Pride and Prejudice.
I haven't seen that movie. I started one time, but I got bored. I just wasn't in space to watch a movie like that.
In my opinion, I don't, like, recommend that movie. It's not that good of a movie.
No.
Honestly, and it did not age well. It has a lot of really problematic things today that if it was made into a movie, people would shred it apart. But it did well enough that they made, like, 3 of them.
which is so crazy to me. I never got into them. And
They're kind of boring.
I didn't know it was Pride and Prejudice story though either, which is kind of cool. But
I think the main ones that I've watched is obviously 2005. I've seen the 6-hour BBC version. I did watch the 1940 or 1960 version, black and white.
There's huge difference there. Which version is it?
I don't know.
Well, 40s and 60s are very far apart.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's pretty much the same.
Yeah, and I've seen, there's another version too that's gotten pretty popular. I can't remember what it is though, that I've seen on TikTok girls talk about. But
okay, the 1940 version is the one I've seen. There also was Pride and Prejudice Zombies, which I have not watched, but I really want to watch it now.
I know, I've always been intrigued by it. I just never
into zombies when it came out.
No.
Now I feel like
and
I'd
it's got
watch
Lee
it
James
and
in
enjoy.
it, so we should watch it and see. But no, it's the story is so amazing, and I wanted to read the back of this book so that I've never read it before till today, just now, and then I want to talk about something on it. So this is like the blurb, like this is what the book's about, like the world of the story. The arrival of two rich bachelors stirs Mrs. Bennet to hope that wedding bells will soon be in the air. Jane, the eldest of Mrs. Bennet's daughters, forms an early attachment to Mr. Bingley, but her clever, spirited sister Elizabeth immediately takes against the arrogant Mr. Darcy. Events conspire to keep Jane and Mr. Bingley apart, while Darcy's pride and Lizzie's prejudice hamper the course of true love. Okay, here's the thing. I always thought it was his prejudice and her pride.
Oh.
Is how I kind of always thought about it.
Same.
Not his pride and her prejudice. I mean, his prejudice and her pride. No. Yeah, this is saying his pride, her prejudice. It's getting me confused now. But, like, I always thought it was his prejudice against her being, like, a lower class than him, and her pride in, like...
But really, it is kind of his pride. I think it's both of them,
honestly,
really.
it is kind of both of them.
They both have pride and
But
prejudice.
I'd never read the back of the book and, like, saw that's what Jane Austen
like
intended it for it to be that way. Yeah.
Because really it is. Like, she is prejudiced against him, you know?
Yeah. It's true.
He's prideful, and he like has some of this prejudice towards her as well. But really, it's just his pride. He's like, there's all these things, and like he's just too proud.
I know. I just thought about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, to like
get over it and just live with it. You know?
Yeah. One of my favorite scenes in the movie that we just watched is his initial love declaration and proposal.
Yeah,
in the rain.
The one that's like kind of offensive.
It's so funny, and if you know, like, if you understand, like, the way they talk, the more you watch it, I think the more and more you understand it.
Right.
But if you like really know the way that they talk and you understand it, it is hilarious. It's actually so funny, and it's so offensive. But like she literally tells her, "I liked you, but against my better judgment," pretty much. And she's like,
"Yeah, he's
I'm
like,
sorry, what?
I like you against my better judgment, and your family is lowly.
You know, your family,
and you come from like a weird background, and everybody would look down on me if I married you. But I love you anyways.
So I'm gonna propose to you." And she's like, "I'm sorry, what?
So you're saying that you have no reason to like me, but you're going to like me anyways?
And even if you didn't tell me that, I'd still have a reason to not like you because you broke up my sister."
Yeah.
And Mr. Bingley, so.
Yeah. I know. I love the way they talk. If people still talked that way, I think it'd be very fun.
And, okay,
here's you, like, of a most beloved sister. Like, it's just so classy and fun.
If I called you my most beloved sister, I feel like that'd just be so weird.
It would be
also, because we're American, it just sounds different.
Yeah, you would never call me your most beloved sister. No. It'd be like, yeah, I like you. You're my sister. Like, that's it. Like, I don't even know. I feel like I'd be more likely to call you my most beloved sister.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, I don't know. This movie is very good.
Well, and I want to talk about, like, too, like, you know how, like, nowadays people always make that joke of, like this person's face has seen an iPhone. Or, like, they look like they belong in a Regency movie. Everybody in that cast, I think, looks like they belong in that time period.
Right. It's also a
in
British
an appropriate
thing,
way.
I
feel like it is kind of a British thing.
Like, it's totally.
But also
British
not, because I've
thing.
seen some people, rich people, where I'm like, they're in a movie and I'm like, they do kind of stick out a little bit.
Modernized,
like, let's be honest, Tom Holland in that would not work.
No. Well, maybe.
If he grew his hair out, he'd have to have a different haircut.
He'd have to have a different haircut. And being the outfit, I could see him.
Maybe actually, now that I think about it. Like, it'd have to be the hair. The hair would have to be way different.
Well, yeah, and it would be for a movie.
Tom Hiddleston? Yes.
Yes.
He could
He's
be.
built for it. I like, seriously, to put him in any movie and
Yeah.
I watch it.
But, like, Matthew McFadyen, who plays Mr. Darcy,
Mm-hmm.
is... I love Matthew McFadyen as Mr. Darcy so much. And if you've ever watched, like, any of the interviews for them from when they were producing it, I mean, they're really old, obviously. 2005 is a long time ago. And it's not as, like, much now as we have. But, like, he's just so, like, the epitome of a gentleman in that movie, though. Like, he really does, like, embody the character.
He does very well. But be honest, did you always find him attractive?
When I was younger, no.
Okay, because neither did I.
No.
I didn't think he was cute.
No. And see, what's funny is that something makes me think of this, too. We have a cousin, and she's, like, my little sister. And I made her watch this with me a few years ago for the first time. And I was like, okay, you have to watch this. I'm like, you've never seen it because she's oldest, so she didn't have, like, a sister to show it to or whatever. Well, like, her sister to show her. And so I was like, okay, you're going to watch this with me. I'm going to make you love it. And I was like, okay, and if you, like, have questions as to watching it, because they talk kind of different, like, let me know. So, like, because I want you to understand, like, the story. And when the first movie first started, she goes, that's the love. She's like, that's the love interest. And I was like, Savannah, by the time it's over, I'm like, you're going to be in love with him. I promise you. And sure enough, by the end of the movie, because I was explaining to her, I paused a couple times just because, like, she'd never watched a Regency movie like that. And I was like, okay, I really want you to know, like, really want you to understand the story, right? So I paused a couple times and kind of tell her, like, okay, like, this is kind of what's been happening up till now. This is what's going on. She's like, okay, like, she's getting in and stuff. We get to the end scene. The end scene where he's walking through the fog, right? Which we'll talk about in just a second. But she was like, oh my gosh. She goes, he's so hot. She goes, I love him. And I was like, I know. Like, he is actually so attractive. Like, when I was younger, I didn't really see the appeal. Yeah. But as I've gotten older, more and more, I'm like, I love him so much. He's so attractive in that role. Like, in the outfit. He pulls off, like, the wardrobe, like, splendidly. Not a lot of guys can look that good in sideburns and a high collar, like, and starch collar, and, like, the pants and the cape, the jacket. Like, it works for him, though.
I will say he is Snape in my mind.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I know.
Like, they are one and the same.
Yeah. No, they have very similar, like voices.
Like, part of me just, sometimes when I'm watching it, like today we were watching it, and just the way he talks and his hair and the cape and walking through the field
of his voice too.
Walking through the field though with his little coat thing flowing behind him, I'm like, he is Snape. This is a Harry Potter fan fiction of if
okay,
Snape
I wouldn't
fell
go that
in love.
Far.
Like, it's so.
I wouldn't go that far.
There's what I think.
There's some similarities, but I don't think
there's
that
some
much.
similarities. It's like a different version, but it's like the same. I love him. Okay. He could totally play Snape in a movie.
Yeah, he could.
I
love how everything we connect back to Harry Potter. We're like,
I know.
Harry Potter. You guys can't tell. We love it. I'm gonna read the whole series on it, but you know. But let's talk about the end scene though, because here's the thing. This movie is beautiful. Like, I want to go over to England and visit everywhere they shot, because they have, like, you know, they shot in all these real big old buildings. They added a lot of fake walls though, because they couldn't hang stuff up on the current walls, so they built, like, temporary walls and put them, like, a few feet in front of it, which is so crazy to me. And then they'd have, like, all their decorations and they kind of, like, take it down and stuff. But, like, Mr. Darcy's house, I can't remember the actual name of that property,
but you can go visit
there
in real life,
and there's all that, like, artwork and the floor and everything. I'm like, that is my ultimate dream, is to have somebody take me there and just, like, we go and we just see everywhere that they filmed, because it is so beautiful. And I want to go to I want to find where they shot that last scene. I'm like, what field is this? It probably looks so different now. Probably it's been, like,
it'd probably just be way more.
It's been 20 years next year. Ew, that's crazy.
Oh, that is weird.
But like,
yeah, the soundtrack was amazing.
Oh, we talked about.
We discussed the soundtrack before on our episode about some of the best soundtracks in cinema history.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And, like, I think we mentioned that episode too. They had to because usually when you produce sound on movies, it's like post-production. But they had to write piano pieces so they could have the actors playing the piano on screen.
Yeah, throughout it, because that was very much a thing in that era.
Yeah,
they would always be playing the piano. That was a skill most women were taught.
The pianoforte, or reading, or sewing, or singing, or art, things like that.
Yeah,
poetry.
And then this film also won or was nominated for different
It was
awards.
nominated for 4 Oscars, which is so cool. And then they won some awards though. They won 13 wins and 59 nominations total. They didn't win any Oscars, but they won I think there was a BAFTA in there and a couple other things, which is really cool. I didn't know that they won some reviews. And it had an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's not bad as far as romance books, romance movies go. Oh, I didn't know this. This is cool. Did you know director Joe Wright was not initially keen on Keira Knightley playing Elizabeth, believing her to be too attractive. He changed his mind upon meeting her, deciding her tomboyish attitude would be the perfect for the part. Or as she tells it on the Graham Norton show 2007, he initially thought I was too pretty, but then he met me and said, "Oh no, you're fine." That's awful.
Meet you in person.
But she's gorgeous though. She's so gorgeous.
Yeah, I love Keira Knightley.
And I do love that she's the age Elizabeth is when she they're both 20. Elizabeth's supposed to be 20 and Keira was 20 when she filmed it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I think she was the perfect choice.
Oh, she
for
was.
that movie.
And if you've read the book too, her personification of Lizzie is so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and her and him together is very good. They have pretty good chemistry. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that the book was originally supposed to be called First Impressions, not Pride and Prejudice. Because it's wrong first impressions.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if that's what it was called?
I feel like it honestly wouldn't be as popular.
It wouldn't be as iconic.
I feel like that's just
It's so interesting to me how the title can affect.
It really can though.
But yeah, what we could be talking about the first impressions. It's just weird.
Ew,
that doesn't
weird.
seem...
I mean, it's weird because we're used to being Pride and Prejudice, but at the same time, I
cannot imagine it having been the other way. But that's her original gist for it was the first impressions.
Jane Austen. We should do a whole series on her stuff now that I'm thinking about this. Because Emma, so good. The new version with Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
And Clueless and stuff.
You gotta give me some time though, dude.
I know, because you haven't seen.
I barely got into Pride and Prejudice. I don't know.
Well, I'll get you into Emma.
I need subtitles. I can't do them without subtitles for at least the first 10 times I watch it.
You had to watch Pride and Prejudice 5 times, and I'd walk out there a couple times, and she'd be watching TV, and she'd be like, "Oh my gosh, that's what they're saying," and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, and it's so romantic, and then I'm getting
you
the
never
words.
She never thought it was a romance movie. She thought that they just okay, tell everybody what you thought.
To be fair, I knew it was. I just thought it was a period drama. I didn't realize that it was just for the romance. I thought it was just about their lives, and I was always so confused as to how what's the redhead?
Bingley?
Yeah, how Bingley and her sister get together. I'm where did this come from? Why is he proposing to her? They don't even know each other. It was so weird. I was always so confused by the whole movie. I was so annoyed by the mom's voice that I could never understand anything she was saying.
Oh my gosh, she's so funny.
And all the sisters, it was so confusing. I cannot even begin to describe how little sense this movie made to me. I just thought it was the most hodgepodge all over the place. And Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth, I'm they talk to each other 3 times. And then all of a sudden they get together at the end. And I didn't even realize they got married at the end.
What? They don't just get... In that time period, you don't just get together. You have to get married.
I know. I just always missed that,
She's literally at their house together. They're at... That's Pemberley.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah! That whole... They're looking out on that big pond. That's Pemberley.
Oh, well, how am I supposed to know this? I just thought they went back out to their favorite field of pond or something.
It literally shows the house all lit up, and then it cuts to them looking at the pond. It shows the house with the swans in the pond. That's the house.
Well, I still need to watch this movie more.
And then it cuts to them looking out at the pond.
I didn't realize that was his house again.
Which that's not in the book. That's just a little thing that they added. Which is the best epilogue ever, though. Just saying.
And he's like, Mrs. Darcy. Mrs. Darcy. You can only call me Mrs. Darcy when you're
completely and perfectly incandescently happy.
Yeah, I don't even know the words. Anyways.
No, you don't.
So I was very confused. I did not realize that they actually had any time or reasoning to fall in love.
The book doesn't just take place in a matter of 2 months. It's a year.
I know, but the movie just seems to go by fast. Even just barely watching, he's this last April, if your feelings are still the same.
Yeah, at that point it's August.
And I'm it's been that many months since he confessed his love. I
Yeah.
thought it was like maybe a couple weeks.
I will say, if you know the book, you don't have to read the book, because the book is kind of a hard read if you're not into like reading, and you really aren't into reading like Regency books, in the way that it's written. But you get a lot more context, because like it's by the time they get together, I think it's like August or September, honestly, when they actually get together.
Yeah.
After April, and April they had met like a few months before that. I can't remember how many months exactly, but
yeah, I gotta apologize to my senior high school teacher who taught me English, because I did my book report on Pride and Prejudice.
You did?
I never read it though. I tried. I think I made it 2 chapters in, and then I just bullshitted the entire
oh my gosh
project. And I was like, oh, I'll just watch the movie and then do the project. And I just slept through the movie, and then I just Googled some stuff.
Oh my god!
And I just made up the most random stuff, and I got an A. And I still didn't understand the movie.
I will say that always makes me think of that one. I don't know if it was a video or something like that, or a quote, when it's like when teachers are like, "Oh, like you have to read the book and then write your report on it," and like, "I'll know if you didn't read the book," and it's like, no, you won't know if didn't read the book and I wrote my paper well, because these people that don't write the paper well, or like watch the movie and don't know anything about it and they write the paper bad, that the teachers know that that they didn't actually read the book.
Yeah, I was pretty good at just BSing schoolwork though.
Well, a lot of people are. Our mom and our older sister and our sister-in-law, all of us love this movie and stuff. And so when she was watching for the first time, we're all like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, as she was figuring stuff out, like, "Oh my gosh, like they actually do love each other," and "Oh my gosh, like he like helps her sisters for her."
Yeah. And that's so romantic. He's like, "Surely you must know I did it for you." Like, oh,
seriously.
It just rips my heart out. It's so pretty.
Yeah.
It's so romantic.
It's so romantic.
Their little dances, like her being like, "Oh, like poetry isn't how you show love." And he's like, "Oh, well then how is it?" And then she's like, "By dancing," because he said he didn't like dancing.
And then the next time they're at a ball, he asked her to dance.
And she's like, "He's asked me to dance." And she's like, "What are you going to do?" She's like, "I don't know, because I swore I would hate him forever." And then they go and dance. And that scene is so gorgeous. Yeah.
There's a little bit of tension, and then it's like the music, and then we were talking about like her outfit.
Yeah, which
the costume design.
That was one of the things they were nominated for. At the Oscars.
That's the Oscars.
Yeah,
the Oscars.
Yeah. So
they should have won.
I mean, yeah, they should have.
But
the costumes were amazing. Her hair is fabulous. That's such a beautiful scene. It's done so well. And then I always love in movies, especially it's very much a Regency movie thing. I feel like it's done a lot in movies where they do some type of dancing or a ball at some sort of event, and so that's seen most in Regencies, but where they're dancing together and they're connecting, and then everybody else disappears, and it's just them there on the dance floor. That is like the epitome of romance to me, like, because there's such I don't know how to describe why it's so like, beautiful, and it just is so perfect. Like, it just explains what it's like to really connect and be like, you're the only 2 people in the world. Like, you're the only 2 people in the room. All you see is them. Like, it's so romantic. And I feel like, too,
for that point of the story, he's a goner. Like, he's already in love with her. She has not fallen for him yet. I think that's the first moment where she feels that connection, really.
Right.
Other than when they first saw each other. Because, to be honest, it was kind of love at first sight, though, in a way.
She was definitely into him at first. But then
he opened his mouth and he said that, and she was like, this guy's not what I want. But then they're dancing and they have that connection where, like, he kind of spars with her because she is a spirited girl for her time. Like, she doesn't really hold back. She's very outspoken and stuff. And so...
Well, and she's already made it clear that she thinks dancing is a way to show love, and how you would get to know someone, and she values that as a
and she literally tells him, like, well, now it's your turn to comment on something, so keep the conversation going. Like, she's like goading him, and he's like, whatever you want to talk about, let me know and I'll talk about it, kind of a deal. Like, he's like flirting so hard, and it's so good.
I also really like when she goes to his house. I didn't know that was his house when I
it
watched the first million times. I told you that.
They literally say it, though.
I know, but I didn't realize it. I was like, why is she there? Why is he there?
You can't tell she's freaking out that they're at his house, because he's like, oh, like, she's with her aunt and uncle. First of all, another one of the best quotes in the movie is, What are men compared to rocks and mountains? Right out of the book. Just saying. Love that. But then her uncle's like, oh, like, Pemberley's not that far. And she's like, Mr. Darcy's home. And he's like, yeah. And she's like, oh, let's not. And he's like, why not? He goes, well, he's so rich. And he's like, goodness, the poor man can't help it. Why are you being such a snob, Lizzie? Don't judge him on his wealth. And then they go and visit the house. And she's like, wow, I turned him down and I could be living here kind of a moment. Because she's like, oh my gosh, this house is kind of crazy. Like, it's kind of her
vibe. I didn't get that.
That's why she scoffs. Because she's like, she looks at it and she's like, like, whoa, he's like stupid rich.
Yeah, because in today's world, he'd be a millionaire.
Oh, yeah. I've done the calculations before. And Bingley makes roughly 500,000 to probably 700,000 a year, if like in terms of like 5,000 pounds or whatever. And then Darcy making 10,000 is close to like a million, a little bit more. And so he is wealthy. He makes a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I also was always confused by who was who whenever I watched it before. The names were weird. And so when she's like, Mr. Darcy, I'm like, who the frick is Mr. Darcy? And I didn't get that was his house. And then he showed up and I still was confused.
What?
I don't know. I get it now, but like I was so confused before.
You didn't know that was Mr. Darcy?
Yeah, I did, but I didn't.
Like,
what the
I didn't
hell
really...
is
wrong with you?
I don't know. I didn't.
They announced them when they walk in the room, Aly.
I just did not care. I did not care whatsoever about this movie.
Like, physically painful for me. Emotionally painful. I'm happy now that you get it, but like, the more we talk about this, I'm like...
I could not care less about the movie before.
I'm just happy you got there.
It was honestly one of my least favorite movies. I know,
and I was always so... I'm like, why don't you love this?
Well, we watched it so much, and I didn't get it, and I hated it. And so I
should have realized that you didn't get it. I should have explained it to you earlier or something.
I seriously hated that movie. You guys would want to turn it on, and I was like...
You'd always be like,
I was like Dad and Quentin. I'm like, these freaking women and their weird shows that are so boring and dull. Also, I will say... in the last couple years, I've gotten way more into, like, romance books as a whole.
True.
I wasn't really into that before.
I've always been a romance girly.
I was not, like, I liked it, and, like, I would read books that had romance in it, but I would never read a romance book with other stuff.
And Pride and Prejudice is straight romance. Like I said, it's it's like the blueprint for romance books. So I
will say, like, that, like, is probably why I like it so much now is because I get the romance books.
You see all the micro tropes and all
I get all of those moments more. I'm more into that now than I was.
I mean, this is the epitome of enemies to lovers. He falls first and he falls hard.
Yeah, and she doesn't like him.
And he does some groveling a little bit and
there's that back and forth headbutting.
I just wanted to read out of the book, just for anybody who hasn't read the book, just the one passage and the end kind of what happens, you know. So he's just saying, like, my affections and feelings have not changed for you. If they have, you know, one word from you and I'll be silent forever. But if they have changed, you know, let me know now. And so, and this is the actual paragraph out of the book for what Jane Austen wrote. Let me just hold this right. Okay. Elizabeth, feeling all the more than common awkwardness and anxiety of his situation, now forced herself to speak, and immediately, though not very fluently, gave him to understand that her sentiments had undergone so material a change since that period to which she alluded, as to make her receive with gratitude and pleasure his present assurances. The happiness which this reply produced was such as he had probably never felt before, and he expressed himself on the occasion as sensibly and as warmly as a man violently in love can be supposed to do. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That last sentence literally makes you want to just, like, melt into a puddle. Like, he expressed himself on the occasion as sensibly and as warmly as a man violently in love can supposed to do. Violently in love! Oh my gosh. I love him so much. So
yeah, we'll see you next week. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok.
Well, we still have TikTok.
Spotify, etc. Everything's tagged down below. And yeah, send us a comment. Let us know which of the Pride and Prejudice versions is your favorite. If it's the 2005, then you're correct. If it's not 2005, you should probably look into that.
You're entitled to your own opinion, but you know what? You probably are wrong, so...
Just kidding. But yeah, I would be interested if you really love one of these other versions that we haven't seen especially. So Tell us which ones we should watch for sure and do next. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week.